Tesla shares are off just about 1% today, extending what has been a sluggish start to the year for the EV maker. Tesla stock has actually fallen 30% since January 1st. You can see that decline on your screen. The moves have led several analysts to slash their price targets on the stock. Citi is the latest to cut its price target, lowering it to $180 a share. Well, we've got the analyst behind that call. Itay, Michaeli, Citi's U.S. autos and auto parts analyst, is here to discuss some more. Itay, it's great to have you here. So you just lowered your price target here for Tesla. The biggest concerns, challenges as to why you're seeing a bit of a more challenging road ahead for the company.
Yeah, absolutely. So we did lower the price target in our earnings estimates to reflect the Q1 delivery miss and even some early data points we're seeing in April. And so the challenges Tesla's faced recently partly are actually the outcome of their success over the years that have created somewhat of a saturated effect on their vehicle sales in certain regions, like here in the US. Of course, in China, we're seeing greater competition, and the product age is also becoming an issue. I think the one lesson we've all learned in the past year or so is that some of the kind of age-old rules of automotive purchasing are still very much alive and well in the EV era. And that is when you do have higher levels of saturation, or when your product portfolio does age past a certain point, even price cuts don't do quite so much to stimulate demand. These are solvable issues, but right now they are having a greater effect on Tesla than what we even expected a few months ago, as we did lower our estimates to reflect that, and that of course affected the price target as well.
And Itay, you talk about potential disappointment for the upcoming Robo taxi unveiling, and this is kind of mirroring a cycle that we've started to see with Tesla. At least when we speak with analysts, they talk about how there's a little bit too much hype coming into these unveilings that end up being disappointing. Is this starting to become a pattern for them?
Great question. We'll see it on August 8th. I mean, we do love the focus they have on autonomous vehicles. We do think it is the most powerful mobility megatrend out there. And so we've been very bullish on autonomous. There's really two scenarios that we kind of laid out for the August 8th event. One is kind of what you described, which is a bit of a similar event to what we saw from Tesla back in 2019 at Autonomy Day, where they reveal a Robo taxi, but without much of a follow through for actual deployment and strategy for how to take that to market in a reasonable amount of time. The second scenario, which we, of course, more positive, is that we do see both the robo-taxi, where we actually think the company will highlight cost advantages and other kind of unique features. But on top of that, we would actually also get a lot of incremental information on the deployment strategy itself, not only on the AV tech itself, but how they're thinking about deploying this from a mobility and rideshare network. And there's actually a lot of opportunities we've written about in the past for them to deploy, maybe not so much in the densest urban centers that other companies are competing in today, but in other domains where very powerful business models can still be built upon. So we'll see what happens on August 8th. But for us, the focus is, of course, on the robo-taxi itself, the unit economics, but more importantly, on the path for deployment, the strategy for deployment. And if we can come out of there convinced that there is a path to deploy, maybe a differentiated path to deploy and build a network effect, that could become more of a positive versus what we saw in the past.
What about the broader AV landscape here when it comes to some of the other players within the space? The fact that Tesla is focusing on the robotaxi, is focusing on AV, is that largely viewed potentially as a driver for some of the other names?
We do think that the industry will adopt much higher degrees of autonomy going forward, right? There's a lot of benefits, not only from a revenue stream perspective, new revenue streams, new business models, but even just when you think about the safety benefits of greater levels of autonomy, what that could do to insurance, what that could ultimately, of course, do just to society. So that the list of benefits from adopting higher degrees of autonomy is a very, very long and compelling list. It will take some time, however, to play out. We do like the fact that Tesla is focused on this, and certainly in a market that has become more competitive, of course, the EV market globally, these incremental features not only differentiate a vehicle, but as I mentioned, do add potential for significant revenue streams. They're very profitable revenue streams from a software perspective down the line. But we do think there will be a race for the industry to adopt these incremental technologies going forward.
Who do you see as the winner of the autonomy race?
For us, in the supplier space, we've of course mentioned our Mobileye has been a name we've liked a lot there because they do have leading technology and a very strong position itself. Obviously, Tesla's kind of doing their own technology and their own approach with FSD, so we're kind of watching their development pace as well. But it kind of also depends on there's many kind of ways to win in autonomy. Again, there's focusing on urban robo-taxi, very complex but lucrative domains, but there's also other paths we see for focusing on kind of easier domains, but one that you can still have pretty compelling business models. Think about a vehicle that you own that can, pick up deliveries for you, or do service overnight, or even peer-to-peer kind of lending networks that one could develop. So, we like some of the automakers within this who seem to be aggressive. Of course, GM and what they're doing on autonomy there as well is something we're watching for potential upside. But the suppliers are some interesting names there as well.
All right, Itay, we got to leave it there, but really helpful. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing with us this update on your price target here for Tesla. That was Itay Michaeli with Citi joining us on all things Tesla there.